You're listening to the Silver Stoner Show.
Yo, dudes, dudettes, trans dudes, trans dudettes, and all the rest of you out there, no matter how you identify, it is I, Uncle Herb, and this is another episode of the Silver Stoner. Joining me, as always, is the bee woman, Bethany. Call her what you will. She is.
What's up?
And we're both high. Okay? Now, we don't demonstrate that on this channel at this time, but we do in the Too High for YouTube, which I'll talk about later. Okay, let's get down to it. We're going to flash right through the 5 tenets today because it's Friday as I'm recording this, and the bee woman and I are probably a little happier than we should be at the start of this show. This could be really fun, or it could be really sloppy. But we're going to see what we're going to do. Although you're much more hardcore than I am, bee woman.
With smoking?
You definitely have a higher tolerance than I do. Without a doubt. It's not even in the same league. And I mean that as admiration. I admire this. Somehow I just can't build it up. Why would I want to? I always feel wonderful. Okay. So, yesterday we had on that story about the giant flying penis,
right,
slash dildo, slash vibrator, slash whatever that was that Jeff Bezos has made his rocket look like. And I thought I was clever because I spotted it and brought it up. Well, it turns out the whole world was laughing at it. And I just wanted to bring up that even on the Today Show in Australia, they couldn't help but go, what's the word I'm looking for? Point out that it looked like a giant penis anyway.
It was mentioned. They couldn't hold it in. They were laughing.
Everybody noticed it.
Yeah. I don't know if Jeff knows.
I always find it annoying when I see a misspelled sign. Because I always think to myself, did nobody at the sign company proofread the sign? Or did no one, if it was a homemade sign like before, like where I live, a guy put in his window to celebrate Memorial Day, he painted, he did some window painting, which was really nice, with the American flag and the whole thing. But when he wrote their sacrifice, he wrote THERE instead of THEIR. Okay, I got it. I didn't say one word to him because I do not want to start that with the neighbor.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, but you don't want to die on that hill.
No.
I mean, if you have a friend who is just a horrible speller, would you really think it's worthwhile to point out that they're a horrible speller?
No.
Or just let that one go, right? Now, if you asked me, how do you spell that? I would have, but that's the only reason. Having said that, you would think Jeff Bezos, someone would have told him, don't stand in front of that rocket.
What if he did it on purpose?
That's terrifying.
I think that would be genius.
Or is it a secret? Here's my question. Is it secretly QAnon? By the way, I don't know the first fucking thing about QAnon. I just want to make that really, really clear. I just know it's one of those pervasive internet.
Move on.
And I knew it had something to do with penises and pedophilia. Don't tell me to move on. This is good. This is entertaining. I'm telling you that this is entertaining. Okay, anyway, now I'm going to move on. I don't
this
know
one's
anything,
entertaining, too.
And I don't know if I don't even know what QAnon is, other than I've heard the name 6,000 times. And then they did a special on HBO Max, and I started to watch it, and then my eyes rolled back in my head. It just bored the shit out of me. I'm just not wired for it.
No.
So, I don't know. It has something to do with some secret thing with Jeffrey Epstein or something. I really don't know. I don't know. Did he kill himself? Didn't he kill himself? Personally, if I'd been in his shoes, I'd have killed myself.
We need to move on.
Moving on. Speaking of New York City.
I was like, this story's good.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of New York City, so there's this weed dealer in New York City, and I just stopped here briefly to point out to you the only reason that weed dealers still exist is because, the ones that are under the wire, is because of the idiocy of the way they're legalizing weed. They should just fucking legalize it. But anyway, this so-called illegal weed dealer was doing a transaction with multiple customers on the rooftop of a Brooklyn, I'm going to guess, apartment house or something, okay? And if you've ever been to New York, if I lived in New York, I would live in Brooklyn, and I would just come across the bridge every morning, because Manhattan is, I don't get Manhattan. People living in little teeny weeny 70-square-foot apartments like rats for $3,000 a month. I don't really understand it. No offense to those of you watching from Manhattan, but I would live in Brooklyn, which is a cool place.
Yeah.
Okay, so anywho, I guess they turned on him. A gun came out. But rather than hand over the weed, he throws it over the side of the building and causes a weed riot on the street below. Now, it was funny. The way it was reported on the story, it was from the New York Post, which is a right-winger newspaper. Okay? It's kind of a Trumpian thing, still in New York City. And if I'm being unfair to the New York Post, write me and tell me I am. I really don't know. But from what I can tell, they're kind of a right-winger sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But they wrote the story like it was a bad thing. I read the story like the guy was a superhero. What a smart thing to do.
I thought it was hilarious. I would have done that.
Absolutely.
If I was...
It was like a giant fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. And then he ran away and got away, by the way. No one knows who this is. Good. And I hope he's never caught. And fuck those guys who tried to rob him.
Yeah.
Fuck those assholes. And good for him for benefiting the people below, perhaps spreading the joy of stonerdom.
Could you imagine just weed raining down from the sky? You're just chilling.
See, that could be heaven.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would start picking it up off the ground, but...
If it was just coming down. You know,
yeah, like try and catch that.
It's a lot better than what was the movie where it rained squid? Yeah, little baby squids. There's some. It's on one of the streaming services now. It's some futuristic, the end of the world, and it rains. And when it rains, squid comes out of the sky.
That sounds terrifying.
Right. That's why I like raining cannabis. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't even remember what fucking movie that is. I don't remember.
Do you know how baby spiders will do you know how they release when they come out of their eggs and there's thousands of them flying through the sky?
You mean is that how they? I really don't know. So they come out like a puffball?
Yeah, they'll just come out and then they'll release a web, and then literally thousands of them will be floating through the sky, and then they'll just go and try and find a home or something, and that's how spiders, I don't know, release their eggs or whatever.
I am not an enemy of the spider. I am.
Well, I was playing volleyball when I was a kid, and we were on the volleyball court, and my little brother comes running up, and he's like, "Everybody, get inside!" And I was thinking, "Oh my God, there's a lion or something," because we live on a ranch, and we all run inside, and then we all look out the window, and thousands of baby spiders are just going across the court, floating in the air. It was insane. Now that was the only thing I've seen raining from the sky.
I'm going to tell you right now, that would creep me.
I was
right
scared.
The fuck out.
I'm so glad I wasn't out on the court.
That is, how could you keep for breathing them? I mean, is right. And all that sticky shit in the air, they stick all over you.
Yeah, the web stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm talking thousands.
You ever get a web on your hand and you're get that thing off?
I am not an enemy of spiders, and I don't gratuitously kill them. Because I know that we'd be overrun with worse insects if it weren't for spiders. So, yay, spiders.
Yes.
But in the corner of my work shed, right? Or a
not
barn.
at my volleyball court.
Right. The eve of your house. Party on. I don't fuck with spiders. Do what you got to do. Good for you. Ooh, I've never hit. Ooh,
that was scary. Just like the squid.
Well, I've lived 64 years without saying that. I'm pretty sure I can make it on another day or two.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to run into that.
Speaking of running into, I'm going to segue right to the next story. Okay. Someone is not turning off their phone in the studio. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so I don't know who that could be. Okay.
I wonder.
So for you climate change warriors, and when I say climate change warriors, I personally, and again as a stoner, your mind is your mind, my mind is my mind. I think climate change is real and serious. I just don't think it's imminent. And I think, the technology will solve this without us killing each other over these little microaggressions that we come up with and But okay, but let's say that you're a worrier, that you actually buy into this, we got 12 years and it's all over story. Okay, which by the way, we're already 4 years since they've been making that prediction, so we're fucked. Okay, so by the way, if you are one of those people, just throw in the towel and forget it. But I got good news. Nothing's happening that was predicted in that particular model. Okay, anyway, back on subject. So, of course, wind power is really popular, but one of the problems with wind power is it's bird genocide. Mm-hmm. And they're having I saw a story and I reported it. I don't like the term reported it because I'm not a reporter, but we talked about it, about painting one blade black seems to cut down the number of annihilations of the birds. But check out this fucking thing that they want to put in the middle of the ocean. The problem with wind towers is, okay, that no one wants it in their backyard because they're not quiet. Like the Kennedys, who were like big environmental activists, were real active until they were going to start putting wind towers off Cape Cod. Then suddenly the Kennedys shut the fuck up and the towers were killed, which goes to show you that the rich lefties like it in your backyard, but not their backyard, which is not cool. Okay? Anyway.
That design is pretty out there. But
if they build that thing, it's going to be bird holocaust. They're going to have to start doing horror movies from the bird's point of view. I mean, look, it'll be bird holocaust out there. I'll tell you what, though, the fishing underneath it'll be unbelievable.
Oh my God!
I know. I mean, you know what? The windmills didn't work when they built them in Holland centuries ago. This wind is too diffuse. Right now, Texas and California are energy rationing because they went too hard in the wind, and the wind's not blowing enough. As we speak, okay? Look, guys, the answer's going to be in technology somehow, and it's sure as shit not going to be wind turbines and solar reflectors. It's just, hello? Okay, anyway. I know I'm going to catch shit for saying that, but it just
for the birds.
It's for the birds. I love birds, by the way. I'm a birdie kind of guy. All right. So today, let me look. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. Now, I'm one of the very few people who has known what Juneteenth is. It's really funny. I used to poll my black friends and ask them, what's Juneteenth? Very few knew. Very few. Okay? And when I went away as a guest at the state, and they used to actually have the best meal of the year was Juneteenth inside. That's a true story. It was chicken and watermelon and greens, and it was the best meal, and cornbread. And it was the best meal of the year. We all look forward to Juneteenth. I used to poll the yard. Anyone know what Juneteenth it really is? No one knew. Not black, no one knew. Okay, Juneteenth, and evidently this story is that New York City teachers are afraid to teach this for fear it's going to ignite critical race theory. Okay, I don't get this. Maybe you can explain it to me. Juneteenth is the date when the last Confederate Army laid down its arms in Galveston, Texas, freeing the last slaves when the word finally got to them that the Civil War had ended 2 months earlier. Okay, so the very last slaves were freed in Galveston, Texas, as a result of, because in those days, things didn't go quite as
smoothly.
And Texas, was just brand new, and there was no telegraph lines, and, it just took a while for the news to get there. So the news got there, the Confederates surrender, the last slaves are freed, Juneteenth. Okay, good holiday. Seems like a good holiday to me.
And the slaves were property.
Right, exactly. So, good holiday. Good holiday.
Yeah.
Not knocking the holiday. Why would that offend anybody with critical race theory? This is what I don't understand about this story. I don't get it. Why would a New York City teacher be afraid to tell their students of any color what Juneteenth is? See, this is what I can't wrap my brain around this.
I don't know why they lend any time to that. Like, okay, it's a little crazy.
I mean, it is a holiday. And, I'm all for another holiday. I'm stoner. I mean, cool.
That makes 11, I believe, now. 11 legal holidays.
Right. Okay, good. I mean, look, everyone gets a holiday, right? I mean,
and every country has holidays.
Right. And look, as a stoner, I will never criticize a good, and this is a legitimate thing. I get it. This is not what I'm questioning. I'm questioning why anyone would be worried about teaching that to students. I don't understand that. Can anyone explain it to me, black or white? Anyone? I don't know. Write in. I don't know. I saw that story. It just, to me, it seemed like I was happy. President Biden signed it in. It seemed like a good thing. Another day off. This year, we're too late to make a day off because of how recent it was yesterday. But next year, this will be a day off. So great. But okay.
Super.
I'm all for days off. As I get older and older, and I talk to my sons about this, and my oldest son is making a lot of money right now. He's minting money, and he's in the car business, and he's like, his last paycheck was $42,000. I mean, he's minting money, okay? And he knows this won't last. This is no time to be buying a car, but somehow people are. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So he wants to like simplify his life. He's saving up all this money. He's bought a lot of crypto. He's made money, yada, yada, yada. And now he wants to kind of simplify his life. And I think that that's really what stoner is, right? It's like simplify your life, make your life easy. Because don't live to work to live, right? So if you get an extra day off, be happy. Don't bitch. Don't go into his legitimate. Just it's a good day off. Yay. You know, because believe me, on your deathbed, your last thought is not going to be, I wish I could have worked another day. I promise you, that's not going to be the final thing going through your mind. I don't know what it'll be, but it won't be that. And you know what? I'll tell you something else when you get to be an old fucker like me. No one wants to hear about your old conquests in business after you retire. So sharing that, if that's all you got to talk about at a cocktail party, I feel really bad for you. You know?
Nobody wants to be around those people that only talk about work.
Well, yeah, it's like, I'll never forget it. Years ago, I shared my family and I shared a beach house with a dentist. And actually, I'd swapped with him. I took his week, but everybody else in the condo complex were dentists, and they all sat around talking about teeth at night around the fire on the beach in San Diego. And I thought to myself, you got to be kidding. Like, how much can you talk about teeth and gums? I was so bored. But anyway, my wife and I at the time, Terry, we walked away.
Yeah.
Because we weren't going to talk about teeth. Okay, let's talk about smoking weed and cigarettes together. You know, this particular study that I'm sharing with you is that evidently it is bad to you get more tar or shit when you smoke weed and cigarettes together, which, by the way, to me seems like a no-brainer because weed is a dirty smoke. I mean, that's why
smoking tars your lungs in general.
Right. But I've read other studies that say that smokers, and by the way, let me preface this. I am an ex-cigarette smoker. I quit when I was 25 years old. So for 40 years, I have not lit up a cigarette. So, you know, I'm going to call myself a non-smoker. But I am a smoker of weed. And have you smoked cigarettes for how? I know you did, but when did you quit?
When I turned 21. So for 4 years, because I started at 17.
Okay, I started at 17 too. So anyway, because we were young and stupid. By the way, they're finding in states where they're, just as a side note, I'll just tell you this really quickly. In the states where they really have gone down hard on teen vaping, cigarette smoking's gone way up. See, fucking idiots.
I read that. It's actually really sad.
Look, if kids want to, it's as much a fashion statement as anything else. If your kids want to vape nicotine, this is not the hill to die on. You know, they'll grow out of it. But it's a lot healthier than smoking cigarettes. I mean, that's indisputable. So if they want to suck on a jewel and look cool, like, who gives a shit? I personally would not give my kids shit over that. I don't know that I would die. I would tell them that's stupid to addict yourself to a drug, but do what you're going to do. But one day they'll figure out it's stupid on their own, and they're not going to die of it. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Well, I mean, vaping, they have found that it can harm your lungs. Like,
in an extreme case, but you know, you can't. The enemy of good is perfect, right? There is no there. Every decision we make in life is a trade-off, is it not? I mean, seriously. I mean, right down to who we like. When you chose to get committed into a relationship, that turned off other possibilities for you. Okay? It's okay. It was a trade-off you were willing to make, but it was a trade-off. Mm-hmm. Okay? We all make trade-offs. So, you know, yeah, you're right. If we said to kids, go ahead and vape instead of smoking cigarettes, but the majority of kids aren't going to do either. See, number one, you're discounting that the majority of kids aren't idiots to begin with. I mean, we tend to, like, run the news story about the kid who's a real idiot, but most kids are actually pretty decent, level-headed.
Yeah, really smart.
Yeah. You know, like most Gen Zers, for all the caricatures and even the shit we've discussed here, are just like every other kid of every other generation. You know what happens? The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Let me explain this to you. Okay. When I was a kid and I used to go out with a girl for the first time, my parents would always ask, tell me about her parents, her mom and dad. And I would always think, what kind of a bullshit question is that? And I would ask them, I would say, why does that matter? Like, I never knew anyway. Or like, who asks the girl you're asking out, excuse me, Mary Lynn, what does your mom and dad do? I mean, like, I never knew. Mary Lynn was, by the way, my first girlfriend, and she was.
He used a real name.
I didn't use her last name.
No, I know, but I don't know, it's funny.
Is that a bozo no-no?
No.
I grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood, which was a lot of Mary Lynns and Mary Sue. You know, but what can I say? So anyway, and I did not use her last name, but she was. I still have a thing for Irish girls to this day.
Did she have an accent?
No, she was just cute. But she had a little dimple on her chin. And for a young girl, we're talking like just into puberty. She was yeah. So It's really funny. It's the funny things that you remember. But and we never. It was just kids walking each other home from school. We were going together, but there was like 12-year-olds going together. I think we were 12. What was it going? Oh, so my parents used to always answer, "Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree." I have since learned that not only does the apple not fall too. In other words, we all end up scarily like our parents, whether we like it or not. An apple tree can only have apples. Right? It can't have oranges and lemons. I mean, it's just the way life is. You have to accept that. So I don't know why I went into that, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyways, I was on the whole teen smoke. So most kids have smart parents, and most parents tell their kids don't smoke anything, and most kids don't. And then some kids to rebel do. So if they're going to rebel and do something, isn't it a lot safer to rebel with a little vape than to rebel with nicotine and tar? Seriously?
Yeah.
Plus, they don't stink.
Or drinking.
Yeah, I mean, what would you rather have your kid do, smoke weed or drink? Hell, if I found out my kids were drinking, I'm not so sure I wouldn't steer.
Depending on how old my kid is, I'm probably okay with him smoking as long as it's under my roof, and it's safe. I know where he's at.
None of my kids. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. 2 of my kids did smoke for a while, but they quit.
I mean, weed.
The weed, they all smoke to this day, but
cigarettes I'm never going to be okay with. I'll never support the cigarettes, but I'm not going to be like, oh.
Well, again, as a parent, and you'll see this as your son gets older, who's now 2 years old, you just have to kind of choose what hills to die on.
Yeah.
And then you have to make a decision on what it's like. I sent my eldest daughter, when she graduated from high school, I gave her a gift of a trip to Europe with one of these foreign study league groups. And what she didn't know was I was going to show up in London and surprise her. There's a reason for this story, by the way, which I'm not losing. Okay, so and it's on point. So, she's at her last stop. I show up. She's very surprised, and then we spent another 8 days together in the general London area exploring, which is my favorite city in the whole world. And if you've never had a chance to go to London, wow, I just love London. Okay, I have such a good time there. But anyway, I spent a lot of time there in the military, so I know the city well for a person who doesn't and never will live in London. Mm-hmm. But kind of like I know Manhattan fairly well, but I'm never going to live in Manhattan. But anyway, I think every Jewish guy knows Manhattan fairly well. I don't know why that is, but I think it's an affectation of our religion. So, but anyway, I showed up and Lindsay had a spike through her nose with a like a fake diamond on it, right here, mm-hmm. and I know this was meant to shock me, so I didn't react to it. So when I kissed her hello at the hotel, I saw it obviously, but I said nothing. Okay, and we leave and then we ride we get one of those black taxis that are really cool. We're in the back, and she's looking at, and I can read her mind. She is dying for me to say something about that spike in her nose, and I say nothing. Okay, absolutely nothing. It became like a game of who was going to break first. Okay. The only thing going through my head, by the way, whenever I see anyone with a spike in their nose, is how do they resist not trying to pick at it? I mean, that feeling would be like having a permanent booger in your nose.
You forget it's there. I've had my nose pierced 6 times.
Okay, but notice that it's not. And the moral of the story is, in the end, Lindsay finally asked me, why have you said nothing? And I said, because, one day you'll get tired and you'll undo it. I would never, if it's like weird colored hair, shaving their hair off, or experimenting with transgenderism, as long as we don't go to hormone treatments, whatever it is, I wouldn't get in the way of any of it as long as it can't be, it can be undone. I mean, and in the end, 8 out of 10 kids are going to turn out just fine. And the other 2, they'll get through somehow. Most of the time, God willing, and the creek doesn't rise. Where were we? Okay, completely lost my train of thought on the script. Don't even know where I am. Let's get back to, here we are. Okay. George Lopez. I'm just going to give him a little free cred. So he's launching a new Latino targeted weed brand of edibles called Chingon, which those of you who speak Spanish know exactly what that means, and I'm not going to translate it at this moment. It is off color. But good for him. His first product is a mango tajin flavored edible. Have you ever tried tajin?
Yes.
So it's, my kids love this shit. Personally, I do not. But when we would go down to Mexico to our home in Puerto Peñasco, we would always go to the Mexican candy store, and mango tajin, and and watermelon tahini, and and they coat it. Not my favorite thing. How do you feel about it?
I like it.
Do you love it? Would you?
I don't love it. My girlfriend loves it.
If
And a lot of people I grew up with
do they love it?
love it.
So if they saw it in the case at the dispensary as one of the choices, people would actually make that choice for tahini.
Yeah, especially probably because it's George Lopez too.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So look for Chingon. He's teaming up with Platinum Brands, which is an existing brand that knows what they're doing, evidently, in California. I'm not that familiar with them. I'm not familiar with them at all, but they sound like they know what they're doing. So good for George Lopez, and have some of his edibles and buen provecho. Okay, so when I saw this next story, I almost didn't share it, but then I thought I had to share it because I was really looking for something. I was looking for like the Silver Stoner teaches you something that everybody believes but is always wrong about, and this is one of these things. And I have to be honest. You've all heard the bullshit, and you probably believe that just as I do. I still believe it, even though this story is going to refute it. That your mouth is dirtier than your dog's. Have you heard? You've heard this?
Yeah, my mom told me that when I was a kid.
Yeah, not true. Okay, dogs' mouths are known to transmit rabies, tetanus, Pasteurella, and most any other contagious disease. They're teeming with bacteria because they will eat and lick all sorts of gross things, no shit, like garbage, carcasses, and of course, poop. Since dogs don't have opposable thumbs, the magic of evolution, they walk on all fours. They use their face and mouth to do a lot of things we would use our hands to do, yada, yada, yada. Now, I want to say that this is absolutely true except for Pepper and all Airedale Terriers. So if you want to avoid this, simply get a large Airedale Terrier and name her Pepper, and you will be fine.
You want everybody to have a dog named Pepper?
No, but they should have an Airedale Terrier because once you've gone Airedale Terrier, you'll never go back.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I want a French Bulldog.
Oh, you think you do, but then, you
I know I
can't run
do.
with a French Bulldog. You can't even jog with a French Bulldog. They're adorable.
I can enjoy
They're an
him.
ornament. They're an ornament.
Yes.
But don't you like to go out and play with your puppy and throw them balls and watch them make you fetch them and things like that?
You can play fetch with the dog, just not as long.
Pepper plays daddy fetch. What Pepper does is I throw the ball and she'll fetch it 2 or 3 times, and then I'll really wing it, and then she'll like half run to it and then just walk back to me and laugh.
I'm not doing that again.
And I fall for that joke every freaking time. I don't know what else to say. I just do. Because, I don't know, it somehow amuses me.
I don't think people actually believed that their dogs' mouths were cleaner than their own.
I can honestly tell you that Pepper does not eat poop and never has, nor does she lick it. She's really picky about the smells and things. I've never seen her go off, like, we've walked by dead pigeons and things, and she's shown no interest in them, and she's off leash.
Well, not every dog is disgusting, okay? But
Exactly.
I have grown up with many, many dogs, and I have seen them do really gross things, including eating flies out of the air, just literally chomping on the flies in the
To
air.
quote Samuel L. Jackson, and again from my favorite movie, Pulp Fiction, yeah, dogs are filthy animals, but they have personality, and personality changes a lot. To which you'll respond, pigs have personality, and to which I'll respond, it has to be like an Arnold Ziffel-like fucking pig. Anyway, I'm sorry.
We had a potbelly pig growing up that was like a dog.
That makes no sense.
She had a decent
None whatsoever, but
personality.
what it does if you know the lines from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, my God.
Stop it over there.
You in Pulp Fiction, though.
Look, fellow stoners, if you're looking for a stoner, I'll give you a weekend stoner movie tip for sure. If somehow you have not watched Pulp Fiction, and how that could be, I do not know. Okay? Even as a boomer, I do not understand how anyone of any generation alive today that enjoys a good movie has not watched Pulp Fiction, a perfectly written movie. Now, one exception. If the word fuck, or the C word or the N word, okay, I can't say it, to be perfectly honest, but if they bother you to hear them, if it's going to burn your baby ears, okay, don't watch this movie. But if you have grown-up ears, and so this is clearly not for anyone on this channel who shouldn't be, okay, Pulp Fiction, man. Perfect movie.
You recommend it.
It's perfect movie.
It is a good movie.
What would be your weekend recommendation for a movie?
Mine?
Yeah,
Be
yours.
lady, be woman.
Pulp Fiction.
No, seriously. What's your favorite go-to movie when you're stoned?
Shoot, Zombieland.
I love Zombieland. So just to make sure I've got the right movie in my head, famous movie star shows up as himself in Zombieland and gets killed.
Yes, Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, right? Got it. Right, same movie. Just had to remind me who it was who whacked himself or got whacked. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I do love that movie.
That movie's the shit.
There's another zombie movie. What's the one where the zombie falls in love with the girl?
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies. That's the other zombie movie
I like
really
that one
enjoy.
too. It's good.
I can't.
Go
ahead.
it might not sound like it's good, but Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, that one was good too.
I accept that because, okay, here comes guilty pleasure. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Okay. I like that one.
I really love that movie. It's if you do the all-time best, by the way, of that genre is Starship Troopers. Okay, if that would be my overarching. If you like that absurdist kind of, it's just so absurd.
Yeah, but the graphic, the CGI was terrible.
Yeah.
On purpose. See, people.
It was like
people never understood where Paul Verhoeven was going with that movie.
But the burst of energy sometimes is even off the weapon. It didn't even
It was
match
a
up.
send-up. See, when that movie came up, people thought that he was trying to be serious. No, it was a send-up of the military-industrial complex and the welfare state and where we would ultimately end up. And the insects were the libertarians. I'm telling you. Okay, just watch it. Just look at it as the absurdest thing that it is. Okay, right down to the Nazi undertones of Neil Patrick Harris. Think of the casting of Neil Patrick Harris as a Nazi doctor, essentially, in that movie. Doogie Howser, MD, sticking his arm into a giant tick. What looks like a giant. Anyway, you got to see. You didn't like that movie? How about the stupid
Hated
look
it.
on Denise Richards' face when she would fly the spaceship?
Terrible.
Yeah, almost.
How did you not figure out this was a joke?
Yeah.
No one really smiles like this. Okay, anyway.
3 minutes like that.
In the whole movie, every time she's at the helm, she's like, they're attacking. The insects are firing their ass rays because they fired them out their ass. I don't know. I know. That was my rendition of Starship Troopers. I'm really not doing it justice. It was great. Plus, it has some great boob scenes. Just throwing it out there.
Since we're on the movies, what's on your shirt?
Oh, Star Wars. I actually just bought this because someone told me to start shopping in secondhand stores. So this is the kind of shit I bring home. But
They're good stores to shop at.
I do.
Okay.
I don't care if I'm wearing a Star. This is I guess what do you call it? A stormtrooper's helmet, but with Hawaiian shit in it. I kind of liked it. I don't know. I know it's boomer, but
It's the chill side of Star Wars.
I think they ruined Star Wars. Just saying. Just saying.
I have a huge opinion on that too.
J.J. Abrams fucked it up beyond belief, and then they just finished
And
it off.
I like J.J. Abrams, so it's sad.
Yes, it is sad. J.J. Abrams, strong movie recommendation for the weekend as well. His first big hit, which still stands up, Super 8.
I love that movie.
First big hit, J.J. Abrams. Super
Have you
8.
seen the show he did?
What was it?
Lost?
Yeah. Okay.
And it had you lost?
They lost me on that show. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I
I-
think it was religious. So if you had more of a religious view on it, it made sense. But otherwise, you were just lost.
Since everyone already knows so they were all dead to begin with, right?
I think so.
They were in purgatory.
I think so.
Okay. Well, okay, good. But I had that pretty much figured out in my 4th episode in, and then I stopped. I lost interest in it.
Oh, I liked it, even though I was lost. Although I thought that was the point, to be honest.
It was like Gilligan's Island with too many people and no Marianne or Ginger.
Gilligan's Island was just funny. I thought it was
funny,
supposed to just
but-
be funny.
I literally as a kid, and I swear, this is the kind of kid I was, okay? And I remember watching Gilligan's Island in the 60s as a first-run show. And in those days, there was no DVR, and there was no catching it again until they went into repeats. Then you just had to get lucky on the weeks where they run the repeat. So you literally planned your schedule around, like
What was
Thursday
playing?
at 7 o'clock was Gilligan's Island on ABC. I don't really remember if that was it, but that was, So I used to remember turning to my friend Helmut Rockstraw. Helmut was a German kid whose parents were chemists at Bayer Chemical, and he was one of my best friends as a kid. And he used to hang out at my house, and we were both like two little nerds together. Him and his lederhosen, and me watching. So we're watching, and I would turn to Helmut and I'd say, "Helmut, the professor can make a radio out of coconuts, and he can't patch a hole in the boat."
I know.
That's the part I could never quite reconcile.
Yeah, that was like an early MacGyver.
Why couldn't they
The
just
guy could make anything out of a coconut, but couldn't fix the fucking boat.
or build a boat? Why didn't they
He could
just?
build rafts out his ass. They rafted all over the goddamn place.
It was simply for entertainment.
Yes, it was.
Because remember at the very end when they all got off, they all went back. What was that?
Paycheck. Have you seen, by the way, she just passed away, but you see what Tina Louise looked like at the end of her life, Ginger? Mm-hmm. Terrifying. Jesus Christ, poor thing.
Some people don't age well.
It's when they fight it. And my personal opinion is people
Yeah.
age well if they don't fight it.
You're talking like plastic surgery and all
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So I do agree with you. Some women look terrifying.
Hideous. It's like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the smile line.
No.
I mean, there's nothing wrong. It looks
I'd rather
normal and
have
natural.
smile lines than frown lines.
It's like, now the one thing, I do understand why women dye their hair, okay? I get it. I let it go white because men who dye their hair look ridiculous, especially when it just looks ridiculous, okay? It just doesn't work on men. I don't know why, but it just doesn't.
I agree.
And some men want just the mustache only colored. I was like, what does that have to do with anything?
It's just ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's so vain. It's okay. It's so vain. I mean, loosen the fuck up. Grow old with a little grace. I mean, I got all kinds of shit from being out in the sun. Okay. If you don't like it, don't date me. It's okay. I don't care. We need to. Okay, listen, we're going to wrap it up because it's Friday and because Tech Mastery has other things to do. And, have a great weekend and peace out.
You're listening to The Silver Stoner Show.